Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Wednesday, and all of our guests today are brought to you by our sponsor of DTMZ.
It's Friday.
Pardon me, it is Friday.
You can come in, tomorrow and Saturday.
You can
or
come in
tomorrow and
tomorrow
Sunday
if you
if you want, but
I normally do.
yeah, I mean,
That's how much work I do around here. That's why I get mixed up every once
just
in a while.
look around the studio.
Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox, just before we get to Thomas Drance. A lot of people, and we've got a couple of pictures that were texted in. They're loving Casey DeSmith's masks from last night with the cursive script on it. Pretty impressive. And the yellow cage, I'm liking it. Did you have something to say again? I can't read
nothing,
you today.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, why he's mad.
Oh, Shohei.
Shohei.
I'm not mad about that.
We'll talk about that in a bit. Canucks over the Wild 2-0. Joining us now to talk about it, as always, on a Friday from 6:50 in The Athletic. Thomas Drance, how are you, sir?
Gentlemen, I'm doing well. How are you? And you're right. DeSmith did look sharp both in the net and with the black pads and the full flying skate getup. Looked awesome.
What were you thinking last night when it took the Canucks 13 minutes to get a shot on goal?
Yeah, I mean, it was ugly. I honestly thought this is about as concerned as I've been about this team since that back-to-back set of games early in the season through Philadelphia and Tampa Bay, right? I mean, I remember talking to you guys the next morning when I was in Florida, and I was pretty concerned that I was going to be covering the same story I'd been covering in previous years based on how the team looked defensively in those games. We know what happened. They rebounded. They rebounded last night. Now, I sort of saw it, Donnie, to be totally honest with you, as like a microcosm, like this really telling distillation of the sort of volatility that we've seen from this team over the past month, right? Like there are these stretches where, they can't win a battle. They can't break the puck out to save their lives. But there are also these stretches where that core defensive solidity sort of can carry them as it did for 50 minutes last night. Like as a team defensive effort from, about the 10-minute mark of the first period on, that was pretty close to spotless, like a black, yellow, and red wall over 200 feet of ice that the Wild had no chance of breaking down. I like that aspect of it, but again, you sort of come back to some of what we saw in the game as a whole, and it's not really about the Wild game. It's about what it means, right? And it's like the top six got outshot again. They've been outshot 9 of their last 15 games. They've been outshot 6 of their last 8. They get the Niels Höglander goal, but I think we can say that was a little bit fortunate, right? That's like a rush wrist shot from a guy who's running hot. You can't count on that, right? As we've seen against the Devils and the Vegas Golden Knights, if you play the first 10 minutes like that against a really good team, you're buried. You're done. It's over. And, this team is a little bit too reliant for my taste on like finishing talent, goaltending ability in certain stretches. And when that's your profile, when you need to be opportunistic and when you need your goaltender to make big saves too regularly, the way DeSmith did in the first 10 minutes, that makes you, that like lowers your baseline. It makes you a little bit less consistent. It makes you a little bit more volatile. It makes you more likely to repeat wins and losses over a 9-game stretch or go 500 over the course of the last month, which the Canucks have in fact done. And it might help you sort of grind out wins against your Seattle, Calgary, Minnesota tier teams. But when you bump into Vegas, when you bump into Colorado, when you bump into New Jersey, the seams can show a bit. So I actually thought it was one of those games that we could take a lot from in terms of telling a bigger story about who this team is and where they're at the moment.
And as we take a look at Casey DeSmith's incredible mask from last night for our television viewers, he gets the shutout. How important is it? Are we going to take a look at that mask? I'm telling you, you are off today.
Off, way off.
Yeah, it's okay.
Just move on. I'm not even going to say anything. Just move on.
All right. A little look behind the scenes here, Thomas. How important is Casey DeSmith to the Canucks? How important is he to Thatcher Demko?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has been important that they've had reliable backup goaltending. You can tell that the players are working hard for him when he gets those starts, even if maybe it took them a little bit to get there last night. Again, from the 10-minute mark on, you can't ask for more from your team if you're a goaltender in terms of giving you every opportunity you need to get the win. Look, Demko started 4 in a row last week, and when he started against the Devils, it was the first time, since the first 5 games of the season where he trended toward like where his pace was for 60 starts on the year. For the most part, he's been in the mid 50s, and I think that's a credit to Rick Tocchet's discipline, right? I mean, it wasn't like he was saving his DeSmith bullets, right? Like right there in Edmonton's second game of the year, DeSmith is in. Right there in Florida, right? Coming off back-to-back losses in the opening stages of the year, DeSmith was in. So Tocchet deserves a lot of credit, I think, for the discipline with which he's used Demko all season long, like from the very drop of the puck. But also, I think DeSmith deserves credit for sort of pushing for those starts, for earning that trust. You can tell when a team, starts to sort of be reluctant to play that card, as it were. They're not reluctant right now to play DeSmith. So I like that. I think it's been important, and I think his form has been excellent. We'll see how it sustains. Obviously, this team has 2 goaltenders that have run very hot in the first quarter of the season.
Thomas, from the 4th line to the top 6, Höglander really impressive of late. Got his, the 9th goal last night, but the coach was happy with his play without the puck as well. But it's nice to see this kid turning the corner and moving up in the lineup.
Höglander's really good. Like, Höglander's a really good player, and I think he has been for a while. I like the energy. I like the work rate. A lot of these goals now are, he has that wrist shot goal against Decord. Last night's goal was I think a little bit fortunate. I don't think those are going to be bread and butter like wrist shot goals. Not taking anything away from him. Good placement, good use of a screen, nice play. But I think if you're expecting, or the Canucks are expecting Höglander to generate offense at this level, goals anyway, that to me is not going to be his game. I think that's why the work away from the puck matters. The work as an F1, like the play to me, the goal the Canucks scored that I think is the most important template for Höglander was the Brock Besser 5-3 goal against the Devils, where the puck is turned over by the Devils defenseman because Nils Höglander's skating in at him at 30 miles per hour with his hair on fire. Like that to me is the template goal. It's not the rush, wrist shot that he's able to finish. Those are gravy. It's the pressure that his sort of that hair on fire work rate that Höglander brings when he's at his best. It's when that game is going that I think he can be a real impact player and maybe even an impact supporting piece in the top 6. We're seeing really good stuff from him. He's a good player. It took him a little bit to get going here. I'm not surprised that Rick Tocchet has a lot of time for that North-South game. Stylistically, that makes a ton of sense to me with what Tocchet values, with the battle winning, and the speed. So lovely to see Höglander sort of seizing this opportunity. Long time coming. He's definitely a player that needs to be in this club's top 9.
Thomas, the first guy I would they got a ton of UFAs and RFAs. First guy I'd sign to an extension, UFA, is Lafferty. 6 hits, 15 minutes last night. Can play high in the lineup. He's a 2-positional player. He's fast. He's a great forechecker. This guy's been, Donnie was talking about Alvin and all his great moves, but this was one of them. This guy's been a player.
Yeah, I mean, he's also shooting an outrageous rate. They're converting on 14% of shots when he's on the ice. You can actually see it with the goals there. Deflections in off his body, deflections in off his stick. He's going to the net. He shouldn't be on the top line, in my opinion. I think the seams are beginning to show there in terms of what the Pettersson line is generating, but I really like the player. Thoughtful, sharp, solid two-way guy, can obviously play up and down the lineup and both on the wing and at center, but I don't think we should be get carried away here. When a guy is running as hot as he is, and has sort of a career track record of being a bottom 6 piece offensively, I think you have to tread with extreme caution in considering an extension.
Andrei Kuzmenko, any chance of him getting out of the Rick Tocchet's doghouse anytime soon?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just not seeing a lot there. Like, I'm not seeing a lot there. I believe, though, that he's a game breaker. Like, I believe this is a game-breaking player and a guy the Canucks need, and probably a guy the Canucks need higher up the lineup. He's still, in terms of the rate at which the Canucks score goals when he's on the ice 5-on-5, he's number one on the team still, right? Like, even though it's been quiet around him, even though he's been a regular healthy scratch, even though he spent last game on the fourth line, if you need a goal, Kuzmenko on the ice gives you your best chance of getting it. I still think we're going to see a stretch of 9 games where he has like 15 points and 7 goals. Like, that's how skilled this guy is. But one thing I'd note is, you put a Höglander or a Garland in the bottom 6, and I think they have that work rate to kind of help drive that line. They fit with an energy line profile in your mind's eye. I'm not sure Kuzmenko does. Like, Lafferty's another good example. Mikheyev's another good example. If you drop them further down the lineup, you're totally fine with it. But if you drop a Besser or Kuzmenko onto the fourth line, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? Like, that's the sort of player type he is, which isn't a criticism of him, right? Nor is it a criticism of Besser. I just think those are guys who need to, effectively be like facilitating with other high-level players, in my mind, if you're going to get the best out of them. Likewise on the power play, right? Like, one thing that the Canucks changed this season with Rick Tocchet taking over the coaching of the power play is there's more rotation. So Kuzmenko's not fixed at the net front, right? Where I think he's a genius level player. In fact, most recently of late, he's been spending time on the half wall with JT Miller at the net front. Well, I tend to think that if you want to get the best out of Kuzmenko, positioning him in the blue paint, letting him find those pucks, letting him deflect the puck, letting him get that stick open for those sharp passes from Pettersson and Miller, like, that's how he's best used, but that might not be what's best for the Canucks power play as a team. And it feels like in a lot of ways we're bumping up into that sort of tension here, where if you want to get the best out of Kuzmenko, it might not be what's best for this team to play the style that Rick Tocchet thinks will help this team win games, in various phases. So that to me is sort of a bit of a concern. I don't know that he's being best positioned to succeed, and yet I can't really criticize it because this team's winning games and playing good hockey.
Stick around, keep watching. We'll have that shot of Casey DeSmith's mask for you in a matter of moments. Thomas, thanks for this. Next Friday.
Yeah, and Rick, stop trying to sign every Canucks player on a hot streak.
Are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me?
Look ahead, man.
This regime brought him in. Tocchet loves him. They absolutely, top to bottom, from the management to the coaches, love this guy. Thomas, wake up out of the slumber you're in.
He's a good player. I'm just saying at some point. Rick. At some point.
So you don't think they're going to sign him?
Kuzmenko's running hot. I'm an idiot for saying they should be reluctant to sign him.
Oh, big deal. You're right for once in your life.
Nils Höglander's running cold. I'm an idiot for saying he should play more. Sam Lafferty's running hot. You're saying he should sign him. I'm saying proceed with caution. Whose track record do you want here?
Okay, so are they signing them six times six? I mean, give your head a shake. It'll get done. You watch. Yeah,
he's a good player. That'll be fine. So long as the money doesn't
have a nice
weekend. Like he's a 20-goal scorer. Cheers, boys.
Have a nice weekend.
Check out the mask. Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate it.